Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So 2 years ago, a group of parents came to us in the Human Services Committee. They had been coming to this building for some time to share their experiences with abuse and neglect of their adult children in the Department of Developmental Services. And so last year, this chamber passed legislation to create an annual report so that we could have an understanding of what the abuse and neglect look like. And that report was first issued in February of this year. And it was telling. There were more than 4,000 allegations of abuse and neglect in DDS provider system in 1 year's time, and 15 deaths. And so we're here today with follow-up legislation to continue this important work so that we can try and prevent abuse and neglect from happening to those with developmental and intellectual disabilities in our state's care. So the bill has a few sections. I'll just walk you through. Section 1 makes clear that a parent, guardian, or other legal representative who is not the alleged perpetrator can receive an unsubstantiated report of abuse or neglect. It also requires that annually the Department of Developmental Services will provide parents and guardians and legal providers with a guide for individuals and legal representatives when an allegation of abuse or neglect has been made. Section 3 requires staff training at the Department of Developmental Services for confidentiality and sharing of information regarding abuse and neglect complaints. Section 4 adds to what is required in that annual report I mentioned earlier, based on what we learned this year, including types of abuse, the types of perpetrators of abuse, recommendations, and any potential corrective actions, and if they have been followed up on. Additionally, we will be requiring an annual hearing with the Department of Developmental Services on the findings of those annual reports. And we already required last year a 5-year review of abuse and neglect policies at the Department of Developmental Services. We are building on that requirement to include an evaluation of background checks of workers and to have information readily available on their website. And so with that, I would encourage all my colleagues to support this legislation.